what are those what we call ministry killers do or leadership killers do we have around that actually makes leadership to be very difficult? Remember, previous in this lesson, we talked about some of those leadership challenges in Africa. Remember, we talked about corruption, we talked about dictatorship, we talked about competition for preeminence, we talked about the policy of rewarding friends and punishing foes, the whole issue of nepotism and misplaced vision. And he talked about these are some of the leadership challenges that go around in Africa that actually don't offer Africa good governance or the governance that is actually required. Welcome. This is Marketplace Believers, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say, Ina uwezekana. If it's your first time to be with us, please hit the subscribe button on Marketplace Media so that every time when we upload any video, you'll be informed and you can keep on sharing. Kindly, let's share this. Let's know where you're watching us from. We are both on both streaming on Facebook and YouTube. My Facebook account is John Kimani. I'm your host, John Kimani, and welcome. Now, let's talk about those types of leadership killers. It's very interesting, something that we read here that says people don't leave bad jobs. People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. Very, very interesting. Now, Don Bosson, in a 2018 publication, in a very wonderful article that is done, 12 Killers of Good Leader, observes that each of these leadership killers needs to be spotted. It needs to be spotted and dealt with immediacy. For him, he says that each of these killers wreak untold havoc to leaders. Thus, the need to exercise caution. Thus, the need to exercise caution. We continue saying, Jesus did not lead without problems, nor did Nehemiah rebuild the walls of Jerusalem without opposition. If you look at Paul, he had his own fair share of troubles and challenges, even as he attempted to answer God's call for his life. If you ask Winston Churchill, he will tell you that it was not easy for him to propose to the parliament to abolish slavery during his time. It was also an uphill task that were it not for the encouragement of John Wesley. John Wesley was a Methodist preacher who would have given up easily. The same story will be told by the late president of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, the CEO and founder of Optiven Limited, George Washiori. They will tell you of many challenges that they faced before Optiven became a success story it is today. Now we are saying every successful story or every successful person will tell you of hurdles they faced in the course of becoming great. Now, in this particular section, dear viewers, we'll focus on the major leadership killers that leaders face in the pursuit of kingdom business, in particular with the church, in particular with the ministry. And the list is not intended to be exhaustive. And by the way, some of these challenges that your leadership killers that you're going to deal with also have some resemblance even within the church. Even within business circles. So the first one that comes is loneliness. Okay, loneliness. Okay. Loneliness. Now, it's very interesting that a wonderful article done by Charles Stone in 2020, just this year, offers a list of these ones. And a leader, especially for those leaders that are maybe outgoing, some of and well, some may be may just choose to just stay away from the leader. And much as a leader may want to build relationship, build bridges so that he can relate with people, some people may choose to go away from you. We need to realize that loneliness also comes because of pursuing ideas and visions that sounds crazy or sounds out of this world. And come to think of it, when David went to face Goliath with the stones, and strings and sticks, everyone, including his opponent, everyone, including his opponent, thought he had run amok. And just to confirm that, we can read words from 1 Samuel chapter 17. These words, when Goliath saw that David was just a healthy, good-looking boy, he made fun of him. Do you think I am a dog? Goliath asked. Is that the way you have come after me with a stick? He cast David in the name of Philistine God. Now, previously, we see his brother Eliab dismissed him. He actually dismissed him as useless. When you keep receiving such criticism, it is easy and tempting to feel two things: to feel rejected, to feel rejected and unwanted. That's keeping away from persons. We are saying, as human beings, we are social beings. We are social beings, and in each one of us, there is that desire to feel loved, to feel accepted, to feel appreciated. And when this fails to come along, the person's self-esteem goes down and does not perform to the optimum. So the first leadership killer is called loneliness. That comes because people don't want to associate with you. That comes because maybe you're pursuing an idea or an agenda that people sounds weird. And even sometimes you may find yourself lonely because of Satan attack. The enemy would want you to experience a rejection and loneliness from people. And so those are some of the things that can cause you to be lonely. Number two, control freaks. Control freaks. Or saying a control freak may be asking me, John, who is a control freak? The answer is very simple. A control freak is that person who is afraid. That person who is afraid of letting others to be in control because they believe if they do that, things will be messy. In other words, these are people that will never will never delegate. They will always micromanage. They want to understand. They want to be in the driver's seat so that they can control everything. We are saying in an article done by Dayton L. or Owen, that article is known as the 10 Things That Kill Ministry. He describes these persons as follows. He describes them as overbearing, low self-esteem. These are people with low self-esteem. We also they are self-righteous. They are accusatory. They are, by the way, it's very interesting that they are hard to spot because they love spotlight. It's hard for them. It's hard for you to spot them because they love spotlight, and they never want to let things go as because they believe if things will go wrong without their hands on them. So they will remove anyone and everyone. They will remove everyone in the limelight so that it is only them who actually shine. They are not good in leadership. That type of leadership killer is what we call hard mentality. Hard mentality. Hard mentality, that is H-E-R-D. Hard mentality is that kind of mentality that actually gives people we can define it as the inability for people to own up to their opinion. As in, you don't want to own up to their opinion. And for them, it is easy, for the people who suffer from hard mentality, they follow majority. they want to follow what is common and what is they don't have their own persuasion. Others, as the word suggests, they lack capacity to make their own decisions and afraid. Actually, they are afraid of standing on their own decisions. In the words of Dayton, others prefer to be spoon-fed rather than getting messy, learning to feed themselves. They are afraid of feeding themselves. So, because they are afraid of learning to feed themselves. Now, others, we continue saying, they will support even a wrong cause, even when it is ungodly, even when it is not holy, even when it is illegal, they will actually support it. And Pilate cuts the definition of a herder, because you remember that time when his wife sent him a dream and told him, "You please have nothing to do with Jesus Christ. I had a bad dream." He was not even reasoning. We also see in Acts chapter 19 that some of the people in the meeting were shouting one thing while the other people were shouting something different. And even some people did not know why they were there. So we are saying at the best, herders are confused. Herders are confused, that they don't know what is happening. They are careless, that they support ideas or causes that are godly. And then we are saying they are callous. They are callous. CALLOUS. They are callous. That means they are completely sold out to cause, even when it is evil, even when it is wicked. Type leadership number 4. Leadership killer number 4 is unwelcoming spirit towards those who are not like us. Unwelcoming spirit toward those who are not like us. Unwelcoming spirit toward those who are not like us. This is very common, especially in politics, because it's a narrative that is driven to people between us and them, and then them are described with the words "not like us." Words like "not like us," and this kind of thinking, as you can see, actually promotes division, as them are not given leadership responsibilities, they are not given privileges, they are not rewarded because they are not like us. Now, when a leader supports them, then he faces the wrath of the camp of us. And if the politics favors them, and more so in the church, the pastor is transferred, the leader is transferred, is taken away immediately under unclear circumstances. If this is not possible, then the existing leader does not receive support from key leaders as they boycott his leadership. And such a leader struggles to make ends meet within such a toxic, such a divided environment. Leadership killer number 5 is immaturity. Despite the church at Corinth, being founded by Paul with lots of many talented believers and strategic placement of this church, we find that there was a lot of immaturity, and it would not be an insult. It will not be an insult if we term them as big babies. In the article, again, top 10 things that kill the church growth, Mike Mazzalongo observed that the church shares 4 key traits of immaturity. Number 1, jealousy. Number 2, infighting. Number 3, worldliness. Okay, jealousy, infighting, worldliness, and slow spiritual growth. And as I was reading this article, it was very shocking to read these words. This proves to you are not spiritual and you are acting like the people of this world. When a believer or when a leader fails to stand out, he becomes a drainer, he becomes a killer of both leadership and ministry. He makes the non-believers not to be attracted. He makes the unbelievers not to be attracted to Christ. And one of the reasons why church growth is where it is one of the reasons of church growth, especially during those early days, is because we read in Acts chapter 2:47 that everyone liked them, and each day the Lord added to their number those who have been saved. Immaturity, we are saying, dear viewer, gives an organization a negative position. And instead of believers, instead of people, instead of customers coming to join and employers actually sticking around, what they do is that they shy away. They shy away or walk away. And within the secular settings, it simply means that there are less sales, that's less profit, and actually leads to market closure. It means that the market share continues shrinking, and it would mean less members and eventual close down of the church. Leadership killer number 6 is a giftedness. Giftedness, yeah, it's very interesting to note that giftedness can be a leadership killer. Now, Peter Adam in 2019 article, What Sins of Ministry Are You Killing Today, offers the following insight. Number 1, anyone with the gift of organization is tempted to be impatient. With others. Instead of putting enough time in prayer and studying in the word, people tend to spend time organizing things. Number 2, a person who is a people person, who kill ministry. A person with the gift of people person who will kill ministry by using other people to meet your needs. Number 3, when you are knowledgeable, you may kill the ministry by looking down on ignorant person. Number 4, the gift of oratory may lead you to focus on performance and not on reaching people. Okay, leadership killer number 7 is pack mentality. Okay, now have you ever seen how school kids gun up against one particular child and how they chase him with tears with what we call mchogoano? And this is what Mark Wood in 2015 publication describes as Mark mentality. And this is a kind that happened even to a minister. People, members in particular, they can all gun, at least the powerful members. When they all gun, at least the powerful members, and decide to speak negatively. They decide to speak negatively against the leader. For them, they have nothing good to compliment the leader for. And when such happens, it can dampen the passion of the leader. Okay? Now, type number 8, leadership killer number 8 is failure to listen to ideas. According to Mark Wood, 5 pastoral errors that kill ministry, a leader can fall into the temptation. of thinking that he has the monopoly of ideas. Or he may have the attitude. He may have that attitude that he is professional and others are idiots. At other times, he may think that he has been around for long to know everything. He may be thinking that he has been there for long to know everything. And we are saying such kind of thinking alienates him from receiving counsel. Receiving counsel from others. While it's true that a leader needs to come up with good ideas, it does not break any bone. If he asks for ideas. Over time, We have come to learn something, that there are things that others know that you don't know, but you really need to know. Okay? And the only way that you can know is by asking for information. Remember, you do not get answers. You do not get answers to the questions that you do not ask. So we are saying, collect for opinions. Listen to ideas, because it makes others to feel wanted. It makes others to feel valued. It makes others to feel appreciated. You know, three things: it makes others to feel loved, wanted. It makes them to feel valued. It makes them to feel appreciated, as well as at the end of the day, it reduces labor turnover. And labor turnover is when people keep on leaving organization, where people don't stick around. Number 9, leadership killer number 9 is confusing spotlight with servanthood. Confusing a spotlight with servanthood. We need to say, leadership is not about spotlight. By the way, Christ did not attempt to be famous. Yes, he was famous during his time, but he did not attempt to be famous. He did not want to make him famous. And just to support how Jesus Christ was famous, we read a few passages here, 3 of them. The first one is Mark 1:38. News about Jesus quickly spread all over Galilee. News about Jesus spread quickly. Verse 2 is Matthew 9:31. But when they left, they talked about him to everyone in the part of the country. Number 3 is Luke chapter 5 verse 15. News about Jesus kept spreading. News about Jesus kept spreading, and large crowd came to listen to him teach and to be healed of their diseases. We say Jesus was more than a celeb. He was influential. He was influential. And we're just thinking, in the social media of his time, we want to imagine that he was gathering a lot of likes, a lot of emojis of love, a lot of emojis of thumbs up, and I'm just sure that he must have received a higher following than any of the existing, celeb that we have around. Some loved him, the peasants loved him, the princes hated him. And the big question is how did Jesus Christ handle his influence, as opposed to today's leaders who stay at the pedestal and use it for personal gain? Jesus was completely different, because he used his fame and influence in the following 3 areas. Number 1, he was compassionate. Jesus was compassionate. And even down, you can read Matthew 9 verse 36, that when he looked out for the crowds, when he saw them, he looked with them with the eyes of compassion, with the eyes of mercy. Although he was powerful, although he was strong, he actually empathized with people. Number 2, he was affirming. He was affirming. You remember the time when he met that woman who was bleeding for 12 years? He addressed him with loving words. The words that Jesus used was, "Daughter, your faith has made you well." Now, this was a title of endearment, a title of acceptance, a title of affirmation that actually liberated this woman from shackles of rejection, of humiliation that had actually dressed her down for the past 12 years. Number 3, Jesus valued people. He valued people over programs. And when his program was about people, and one point he was walking towards a city, when he stopped by the house of Zacchaeus, who was stopped on a sycamore tree. Jesus stopped to have meal at his house, because for him, he valued people over program. We are saying that when a leader's greatest focus is spotlight over servanthood, he seems to earn the title of a hypocrite. And Jesus Christ offers this interesting advice. When you're invited, go and sit in the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you'll be honored in the presence of who sit at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. A powerful passage from the book of Luke chapter 14. Now, an arrogant attitude is a leadership killer. And then number 10, leadership killer. Number 10, building your ministry around yourself. Building your leadership around yourself. Now, every reader wants to be loved and recognized. However, this boost, this desire, it can be addictive. And leaders, especially with high charisma and high level of giftedness, can fall into this temptation of building everything around themselves. And this is a characteristic of control freaks. Now, we are saying in order to fight this and to remedy yourself against this leadership killer, now learn to answer the question, this important question: what will happen if I leave? What will happen when I leave? What will happen when I leave? What will happen when I leave? A very important question that we need to answer. This question should force you to identify potential leaders that can and mentor them, and you keep them when you exist. Leadership killer number 11: unforgiveness. Unforgiveness. In the article "Unforgiveness Undermines Your Leadership Effectiveness," Dr. Vongai Nyamusi is the opinion that leadership attracts relational challenges. As you relate with people, you offend people. People will offend you. Of course, as long as you're in one basket, you hit one another. And if left unchecked, we are saying it can give to bitterness. And bitterness will do three things. Number one, forgiveness undermines effectiveness. Unforgiveness undermines effectiveness. Where anger and animosity and bitterness takes root, of course, people don't want to come together. People are not comfortable getting together, and this kills creativity. It kills running. It kills growth, and these are critical components for profitability and expansion. Number two, we are saying unforgiveness saps happiness and joy. It saps happiness and joy. In such an environment of anger, of mistrust and resentment, people can't walk and work together harmoniously. People avoid each other because there is anger, there is hatred, there is hostility. Number three, it incites revenge. It incites revenge. When bitterness increases, hostility increases, people are looking for opportunity to hurt one another, to offend one another, to hit one another. And unless the power of Christ prevails through, then the company or the organization will be headed for a downward spiral. It then means that unforgiveness is a leadership killer, and there cannot be progress in an environment that promotes revenge, hostility, and hatred. Now, finally, the last and not the least of the leadership killer is failing to meet the needs. Failing to meet the needs. Now, when Jesus Christ was around this world, he was in the business of meeting the needs of people. He fed the hungry, if you remember. He healed the blind. He gave sight to the blind. And as Jesus went around, we say he met the needs of people without delay. Without delay. No wonder the masses followed him wherever he went. Should a leader desire to meet the fair needs, Crickmill in 2023 publication proposes three important questions that a leader needs to ask himself. Question number one: what is the biggest problem you are facing right now? What is the biggest problem you are facing right now? Question number two: what is the most meaningful experience you have had at our church? What is the most meaningful experience you have had at our church? And then question number three: what one thing would you change about your ministry? What one thing would you change about ministry? You know, the answers to the above question should prompt a responsive, generous, and kindness, and a failure to meet the felt needs. We are saying not only kills the church, but also places the church in a bad light. Well, there you are, the 12 leadership killers that actually kills your organization and kills your church. And we are encouraging you. What among them do you find? What are some of those leadership killers? Is it about failing to meet felt needs? Is it about unforgiveness? Is it building leadership around yourself? Is it about a failure to listen, or pack mentality, or hard mentality, or is it unwelcoming those that are not like you? What is it? We encourage you to deal with it right now. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say in Uwezekana. For those of you that have watched us, we want to thank each one of you. May the Lord be with you. And until next time, when we'll be coming live, remember what you always say here in Uwezekana.